Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most. Here on the Rundown, 2A views, conservative news. Craig, how's your day been so far? How's your thirsty Thursday?
It's thirsty, bruh. It's thirsty. I am awful thirsty today, bruh. Just to be honest with you, my attempt to begin the weekend yesterday epically failed as I had a meeting going late into the evening yesterday. And today, obviously, waking up, having work to do, having to be responsible.
Yes, today for some weird reason just feels like, I don't know, like I've done it before. I don't know what's going on.
I have absolutely no idea what is going on. It might have something to do with Groundhog's Day.
Is it Groundhog Day today?
All day and evidently tomorrow.
That explains it. I've had my Puxatawny fill of today.
Yes. And just so you know, he came out and, he saw his shadow. Therefore, he is predicting 6 more weeks of winter.
See, I think we talked about this last year. I don't get that. All right. If you come out from your little cave, your little rabbit hole, or wherever you sleep if you're a groundhog, and you see a shadow, doesn't that mean the sun is shining?
Yes, one would think, but I did not write the ritual. I'm just reporting on it.
Yeah. And if you came out and you didn't see your shadow, it would mean it was like gray and overcast, right? So I would think no shadow, more winter. Shadow, here comes the summer.
Maybe we're confused, all of us. Just not
I think
the
you're
groundhog.
correct. I think it's exactly what you said it is. I just don't understand groundhog logic, I guess. Groundhog logic, yeah.
I don't understand it either. I'm not going to attempt to understand it. I'm just going to enjoy it as it is amusing.
Yeah. No, I got you. There's a bunch of other, I know we talked about last year too. There's a bunch of other groundhogs up there too. So I'm waiting to see what they say. I think it's groundhogs from different places. Yeah.
But Puxatawny Phil, he's kind of the official guy, right?
Well, I'm trying to remember. Like, I think there was what was it? New Jersey Steve, who lives in a sewer, right? And he comes out, and if he sees any Bon Jovi T-shirts, it's 6 more weeks winter, something like that. I forget what it is.
It's 6 more months of Biden document investigation. There you go.
There you go. Exactly right. Yeah.
It is what it is, sir. It is what it is. But on that note, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Thirsty Thursday. Enjoy your day. Go have a beverage. Yep.
Yes. Well, that is exactly that. Now, that's the plan after I'm done. Well, yeah, not quite after I'm done here because I still got some more work to do for a client. But other than that, after that, then I will enjoy myself a nice little beverage. I think I'm looking at a little Elijah Craig today.
Oh, there you go. I hope that's a drink, not a person, by the way.
Definitely not a person. A little Elijah Craig. It is a little person or dwarf. Is dwarf politically correct?
You'd have to ask one of them. I don't really.
Okay. Midget is definitely not politically correct anymore.
All I know about the little people thing I learned from the movie Elf. So that's about it.
Okay. Well, there you go. So I actually have a saying that I love to use. Like when someone says something really stupid, instead of calling them stupid, I prefer to call them intellectual midgets.
You call them what? What is it? Mental midgets?
Mental midgets or intellectual midgets?
Intellectual midgets. Okay. But not offensive to midgets when you say that?
No, it just means they're small. I don't know. I'm not offending midgets. I've never called a midget an intellectual midget. Although I guess if you called a little person an intellectual midget, does that mean that they're actually intellectual?
Or it's a double entendre, one or the other.
All right, I think I hope we don't get dinged for hate speech against little people on this particular episode. If so, that one's on me.
I keep telling you, we should make fun of the Amish. They're never going to find out.
They're never gonna find out. I hear you. All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and start getting to the news. But before we do that, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, just had lunch with these guys today over at Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. You got a rifle in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels, you don't even know it. Now you can go buy from them direct for your next AR build or rebarrel your current rifle. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can be involved in California's future today. Check out the California Republican Assembly. You want some awesome field gear, some tactical gear, some hunting gear, some hiking gear. Go to uscombatgear.com. And if you need that special gift for that special someone coming up for Valentine's Day, get them a nice tactical concealed inside the waistband holster from Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, HAWG holsters.com, and use the discount code The Rundown. All one word, all caps, no spaces. Make it happen.
Folks, these are our sponsors who bring us to you. All they ask is that we bring you to them. So do us a favor. Go visit them, follow the links in the description to this program, and spend some money with them. And trust me, you'll like what you get, you'll like what you see, and when you do, make sure you tell them that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. Also, make sure, if you haven't done so, like, share, subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same. Tell people about The Rundown, because you know the algorithms are trying to throttle us down. It's time for you to help throttle us up. We don't care how you partake, just partake.
There you go.
All right.
Do it.
Story number one. It's kind of funny when I saw this, because and I don't know if this is politics or if this is reality bubbling to the top, but I honestly thought going into this year that the number one issue that people would be citing as an issue was going to be inflation, simply because we've seen dramatic increases in costs year over year. Most of us are seeing the inflation right there at the right there, whether it's at the checkout register at the grocery store. We're seeing it at the gas pump. We're seeing it in every aspect of our life. Every time we take out our wallet or our debit card to spend some money, we're seeing the hit. But it turns out that inflation is actually the number two biggest problem, as cited in a poll of Americans. The number one, government. They see government as the problem. Government interference, government policies. And in fact, this thing here, it cites government citations up 6 points, and inflation basically is once again being held steady. And here are the numbers, kind of right here. Government, number one. So this was in November 2022. This was a few months ago. November, December, it was 15%. Now it's 21% of people say that it is a major issue. The other interesting thing here is you're starting to see is that you're starting to see that immigration is starting to take an increase, and I'm wondering, Mike, if that has anything to do with the visitors or the DeSantis airline Air DeSantis trips to places like to some of the liberal places like New York and Martha's Vineyard and places like that.
Yeah, I think so, Craig. And these polls, bring those numbers back up. Let's take a look at this. For them to, it's like they're trying to break it down to make it look like we really don't have the amount of issues we have. When you look down here, you see government, inflation, immigration, economy in general, unifying the country, right? Craig, I still don't see anything on there that's not the government. All right. Moral, ethical, government. Every one of these, or the majority of these, are all the government. I mean, if they had just listed on here, what's the problem? Fill in the blank. Everybody would have written the government, one answer, and been done, and they would have blamed the government for 90% of their problems. The government is inflation. Inflation is government. The government is not anything beyond what you see here. They're the cause of all these problems that we have. Nobody's blaming the private sector on anywhere in here, Craig, if you notice this, okay? It's not an option. It shouldn't be an option. The most important part of the problem in the U.S. is our current government and everything caused by our government.
Well, and Mike, that's an excellent point because all of these areas, in one way or another, are affected by government policies. In some cases, the best policy that can be implemented is just simply to get out of the way.
Yep. And
Which
let the free market take over. Yep.
let the free market take over. That's why I always try to stay away from the term capitalism and try to use the term free market economy because that's
Yep.
really what it's about. It's about letting the market decide. Because, if you read any books on and understanding economics, when it comes to deciding what products will succeed, what products will fail, when it comes to deciding how to best meet the needs of consumers and people, the market makes that decision much more efficiently and much more effectively than does the government. Even when you have issues or times when, like, remember during the economic meltdown when they said, well, we need to bail out the banks because the banks are too big to fail. Well, guess what? Those banks made some bad decisions, and they went into those bad decisions. They should have known that they were bad decisions, and they were taking short-term profits over long-term security. And quite frankly, those banks should have failed, and the market would have, because other banks that actually make good decisions would have scooped up those assets, and they would have grown, and they would now take the place of those failed banks. The market always works. Every time we've gotten in the way, the government has gotten in the way, it slowed the recovery. Another great example, the Great Depression. A lot of people want to say, oh, well, Franklin, FDR got us out of that. No, FDR's policies extended the Great Depression. It would have been the Great Recession if it weren't for FDR. He turned it into the Great Depression.
Yeah. The Japanese and the Germans, they got us out of the Great Depression. So let's be clear about that.
Right. Well, yeah. Once again, we extended it. Anyway,
World War II brought us out of that. World War II brought us out of that. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I have heard arguments saying that, war did not necessarily do it. Although, anyway, I've heard arguments both. I've heard arguments both ways. Well, the point is, we can agree that FDR extended. We can agree that FDR extended it.
Yep. And the war brought us out of it simply from the fact that everyone had a job. A real job, a full-time job, and many people had two of them to support the war effort.
There you go. Well, I cannot necessarily argue with.
Lucy the Riveter. Remember, we had women working in factories, making airplanes, translating them. Everybody had a job.
Right. Nope. A little hard to argue with that. One. Moving right along, Newsom. Well, Newsom. Well, we are. This is part of the thing we already knew. First of all, Gavin Newsom. His policies, and when I say Gavin Newsom, it's not just Gavin Newsom. The reality is it's Democrats in California. It's those who started the movement of quote unquote smart on crime, which include Jerry Brown, which includes Kamala Harris when she was Attorney General here in California. There was a law enforcement officer who lost his life recently. And there's a district attorney in Fresno County who basically is pointing out that, these folks have blood on their hands. Here, and I'll read a little bit of the story to you. It says, as California Governor Gavin Newsom and his Democratic allies in the legislature take aim at legal gun owners with a slate of new infringements on the right to keep and bear arms. More on that coming. More on that. Anyway, the district attorney of Fresno County says Democrats' criminal justice reform efforts are fueling violent crime and played a direct role in the shooting death of a police officer on Tuesday in the small town of Selma. Now, Mike, what they're talking about is this is a guy who they had arrested. They had already arrested this guy a year before, and they thought they had enough. He was supposed to be behind bars for a significant amount of time. And yet, within less than a year, because of their quote-unquote smart on crime, criminal reform, or sentencing reform, this guy was out within a year and was then put in a position to be able to kill this officer.
Yeah, he was sentenced to 5 years and was out in 5 months, Craig. So it's absolutely the policies, the new laws being passed there in California that caused the death of this officer. And it's not just police officers being killed. How many times do we have to watch young women being killed from criminals, from immigrant criminals. How many times do you have to watch these repeat offenders continuing to come out and commit crimes, and then have Mussolini come out here and say that he starts doing victim bashing, victim blaming. That it's not the criminal's fault.
Well, Mike, keep in mind we had the shooting that took place, the gangland shooting, the gang shootout that took place in downtown Sacramento at 2:00 in the morning. One of the key guys involved in that was sentenced to 10 years and was out in less than 5. Matter of fact, served a little over 4 years. You had the individual who was arrested for assaulting a CHP officer. When he was released because he was here in this country illegally. But because he was here illegally, they would not allow, because we're a sanctuary state, they wouldn't allow them to notify ICE that they were releasing him. And within 2 weeks, this very same individual killed both of his children as well as a chaperone because of a dispute that he was having with his ex-wife. Once again, these are deaths that are all on the Democratic Party here in California, on the governor, on Kamala Harris, on these quote unquote law enforcement or police or criminal justice reform folks whose answer to criminals is we're going to decriminalize crime and we're going to let you out on the streets.
Yep, that's their policy, and it continues to see the most horrible consequence happen every time. People are dying because of their policies.
Right. But they won't own it. They want to blame, gun owners. Like, for example, one of the things that they've introduced in their new package of legislation relating to firearms is they want to put severe restrictions on concealed carry permit holders. Now, Mike, you guess how many people have been involved in either a murder or an attempted murder in the state of California in the last decade who had a concealed carry permit?
Wait. Listen, I don't know the California numbers, but I'm going to go based on what I know of statistics from other places around the country, other states that have had the same question, and that number would be 0, Craig.
Really close. It was really close. There actually was one.
One. Got it. Okay.
All in a decade. Now, mind you, in this whole package of quote unquote gun reforms, guess how many of these laws are going to be applied, or how many new restrictions are going to be placed on the 6,000 plus individuals who are on the armed prohibited persons list? I mean, these are mostly it's people who have been convicted of crimes that prohibit them from being able to own firearms. And oh, by the way, we know they have guns. Guess how many new restrictions are being placed on them?
Let me go with none.
You would be correct. You would be 100% correct.
Just like that. Yeah.
Once again, it is dumbfounding to me. And the worst part about it, Mike, is when you listen to Gavin Newsom talk, his arrogance is only exceeded by his ignorance. And there's nothing worse than an ignorant, arrogant person talking. I'm sorry, but there isn't.
Yeah. Well, Craig, listen, we heard him, what was it, last week, right? He respects the rights of the Second Amendment, or Second Amendment people, as long as, they get his permission to do so. They pay a fee, they get some training, they keep it at home, and only carry it when Gavin Mussolini says it's okay.
Right. He totally respects the Second Amendment as long as you choose not to exercise it.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
By the way, he also fully supports the First Amendment, right? As long as you choose not to exercise it.
There you go. That's El Duce. There he is. Yep.
El Duce. That's what we will call him, El Duce. Well, there's a new gun survey out, Mike, and now this was an interesting one, and I wanted to get your take on it before I put my 2 cents on it. And so here's what they're saying with this new gun survey. With the new gun survey, what they're saying, gun report. They're saying the most significant federal gun report released in 20 years. Well, first of all, no, it's not, because there was a gun report that was released that dealt with, or survey that dealt with use of force or basically use of a firearm in defense of oneself, and they've buried that. That was released a couple of years ago. They've buried that. They've even taken that off their website. But this one, they're saying, this is the only really sweeping first one in decades. Anyway, what they're saying is that overwhelming majority of the firearms that are being found at crime scenes or being used in crime or found at crime scenes are guns that were purchased within 3 years that were purchased within 3 years of them winding up being used at a crime scene. And they're blaming both straw purchasers as well as stolen firearms. And so they're saying they're trying to use that as a means or a reason to now crack down on law-abiding gun owners.
Craig, you give me a survey, or just like we had the poll in the first story, you give me a list of numbers, statistics, and answers, and I'll make it say anything I want it to say. Right? It's clearly these could be skewed in any way. Immediately off the top of my head, seeing this and just hearing about this article, Craig, the majority of guns used are guns purchased in the last 3 years. Craig, in the last 3 years, the majority of guns ever purchased in this country happened. We've had the largest sales of guns in the last 3 years. It's not hard to figure this out and make this up. We can put whatever number and whatever lie we want to stamp on this, left or right. We're not innocent of these charges or these allegations as well. But lies and stats is all it is. I actually was looking forward to this story because it said new gun survey. I thought it was going to be a survey about new guns, Craig. I thought, oh man,
I figured you would. I figured you would.
Yeah.
Now one of the
survey though.
One of the things that I once again I find interesting about this is, number one, so saying 54% of all guns that the police recovered at the crime scenes in 2001 had been purchased within 3 years. There was a double digit increase from the year before.
Yeah.
I'm just like, first of all, Mike, one of the things that we already know from information we've already gotten, ATF knows who the dealers are. An overwhelming majority of these firearms are being sold at certain dealerships. FFLs. They already know where the problems are occurring. Why they're not doing something, not so much to crack down on the FFLs, but taking a look at the people who are buying the firearms there and seeing if they are in fact straw purchasers.
I honestly, Craig, I think that's the a minute part of the problem. I think the part of the problem was over the past 3 years, over the past 6 years, is really what it's been. We've seen huge increase in numbers of firearms. People have been scared, been afraid. These are people that didn't own firearms before, whether they were left or right, on the political spectrum. And I believe they went into it and bought them because they thought that buying them was the right thing to do, and the only way they could secure themselves and their family. Realized they weren't gun people. They didn't need them. They don't know how to store them correctly. They're leaving them in cars. They're leaving them in purses. I believe you've gotten a very large portion of uneducated gun owners out there recently, and that undereducation includes how to store them and keep them from getting stolen. So there's a whole new crop of people that don't have a safe, don't have a procedure, don't have a plan, that are out there owning guns. I think the majority of the guns being stolen are being stolen from them.
You know what? And obviously the numbers would bear that out. So if it's not straw purchasers and then it's people who are having firearms being stolen, you would think something like a policy of, I don't know, how about a tax credit for firearm safes, right? Up to a certain amount. How about that? Yeah. How about you encourage people to buy firearm safes in order to store their firearms?
Because they want you to believe there's bad FFLs out there on every corner, and They want to shut them down. That's why they go with the other narrative. Craig, are there bad FFLs out there? I'm sure, just like anything else, bad car mechanics, bad heart surgeons, I'm sure they're out there. But it's not making up for this entire nation's increase in gun theft.
Oh no. I would say I'm just referring to specifically the straw purchaser portion of this, of these numbers. But no, overwhelmingly it is people having their firearms being stolen. And you're right. If most of them are coming from people recently, that means they're probably new firearm owners, meaning they probably don't know how to properly store or their firearms, and they're leaving them both in their cars and in their homes. And guess what? We're seeing an increase in the number of burglaries. We're seeing an increase in the number of car thefts as well as car break-ins. So The number of people who are having their firearms. And by the way, guess where people keep their guns? In their cars and in their homes.
Yeah, and let's talk about those on the left that did buy firearms and then get them stolen and then not reporting them stolen because they don't want to look like, now I'm the problem.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, no, these surveys are, they're not worth the paper they're written on for the most part. Anyway.
Good talking point.
They're not worth the paper they're written on. There you go. Excuse me. Moving right along. Ilhan Omar, for those of you who have not been following this whole thing, so three Democrats did not get appointed or reappointed to committees that they were on while the Democrats were in control of the House. There was Adam Schiff, as well as Eric Swalwell, which, by the way, is interesting. You don't hear anybody arguing that they should keep their committee assignments. The only one you really hear about is Ilhan Omar. And, once Kevin McCarthy came out and kind of made it clear, the reason why Ilhan Omar did not get reappointed is you don't get to do things like compare Israel and the United States to Hamas, right? You don't get to compare them to terrorist organizations. Say that Israel is akin to basically a terrorist organization. And so that's basically what happened with Ilhan Omar and why she was removed. And then, by the way, yes, in case I forgot to say it, they voted in the House today to remove her from foreign relations. Now, she can serve on other committees. She just doesn't get to serve on that committee anymore.
Listen, the House is controlled by the Republicans. The House control every committee that's out there. She's not getting on any committee. Oh, it might be the committee to dwell on why I didn't get on other committee, but that's it,
Well, she went on, and some of the other things that she did was she compared, basically, she tried to blame the United States for what's going on right now in Venezuela. The crisis that was created by Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. The people who took what was one of the wealthiest oil economies in the world and decimated it, made it so that people are fleeing from there because they're starving. Yeah, somehow, some way, she blames the United States for their communist socialist takeover.
Yeah, well, that's what you do, right? You lie, deny, make counter accusations, right? This is what she's doing. She's in the spirals,
By the way, we got a shout out from a gentleman named Mr. Knives on YouTube. I'm really kind of eerie. I might have to go check out his YouTube channel a little bit later. But his name is Mr. Knives. There you go. Shout out to you, Mr. Knives. All right. And now we're moving along to our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. You can visit them at hogholsters.com. Get a Valentine's Day is coming. Get your loved one a nice tactical, nice, comfortable, inside the waistband concealed carry holster. You can get it now from hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All capital letters, no spaces. Get your holster today. All right, this first one has to do with fact checkers. Now, Mike, I will tell you, it's the funniest thing. I posted a video for a client yesterday that was about the memorial that was done for Tyree Nichols, the gentleman who was beat down and killed by the cops there in Memphis. Anyway,
allegedly.
And they allegedly killed by cops. He was definitely beat down. We'll say allegedly killed. But
let's let the trial. Yeah, that's all.
Yes. What I found interesting was it actually, now it was just literally just photos from people who were there at the event. And then it got censored by Facebook for having potentially violent material. Anyway, this is what you get from fact checkers. This is what I think of fact checkers. Here you got a guy sitting here, he's interviewing. He says, "What do you hate the most?" Facts. He says, "You're hired." And then outside, outside the door, they're shaking hands. It says fact checkers. This is how Facebook goes about hiring their fact checkers.
That's it. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's not fact checkers. It's do I like what he said checkers.
Exactamundo. That's really, quite frankly, all it is. And it's hard because you would think that. I mean, we're talking objective information, right?
Yeah.
This really shouldn't be a debate, but guess what? It is.
Yeah.
All right.
It's. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So our next one now, if you want to talk about how fast an economy can go south, well, nothing better points it out than this particular meme. And Mike, I'll let you describe this one to our listeners.
Oh yeah, there's Steve Buscemi, right, in his role in Boardwalk Empire, right, and it says Biden supporters in 2020. So he's all dapper, wearing very nice clothes, and then in the bottom it's Biden supporters in 2023, and there's an older picture of Steve Buscemi when he was the homeless guy in Big Daddy. So in 3 years, from dapperness to homelessness.
Excuse me, and that's pretty much how it goes, folks.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I hate to admit that it is true, but yes, there are a lot of folks right now in the state of in the state of California and other places who supported Joe Biden, who are like really hating life economically right now. All right, and then we've got one more, and this one is a double entendre. I love this one. Because it has a play on both firearms as well as election fraud.
Oh.
So it says here, it says, if I have 8 guns and Biden and Harris take 7, how many do I have left? 48. I had some absentee gun registrations come in.
I love it. I love it.
But you know what? That's how that stuff goes, man. It's amazing. It's amazing that when you stop to think about how odd it is. Remember, we used to get the results of elections on the day of the election.
It's crazy talk. It was all by hand. Crazy talk.
Right. I'm trying to figure out how exactly we added all of this technology, and yet it takes us now weeks to figure out the outcome of an election.
Oh, because it's we have now that it's more secure, Craig. We have to figure out more in-depth ways to cheat, so it takes longer.
Okay, I think that pretty much explains it. All right, Mike. Well, before we go, how about a quick shout out once again to our sponsors?
HitmanIndustries.net, HitmanIndustries.net. You can get some rifle and pistol length barrels and rifle and pistol calibers available. HitmanIndustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now's your time to do your part for California's future today. If you want some awesome field gear, tactical gear, web gear, hunting gear, hiking gear, whatever it happens to be, get on over and see our friends at uscombatgear.com.
Folks, once again, visit our sponsors and make sure you tell them the guys over at the Rundown sent you. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And before we head out, I want to wish you a happy evening. And we will see you tomorrow on Freedback Friday.
Happy.